My name is
Jenny.
David.
Cora.
Lila.
Laurel,
Jen.
Lisa, Dino, Ari, Kyle.
I was a
Jehovah's Witness.
Jehovah's Witness.
FLDS.
In the Amish church.
The chosen people.
I was a Scientologist.
I grew up a Mooney, a member of the Unification Church.
2x2.
And I am
Shunned.
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 Stunned.
Shunned.
My name is Genesis. I am 31 years old. I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I am shunned.
All right, Genesis. So how did you come to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses in the first place?
Oh, that's a very interesting story there. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it kind of started with my grandmother. So I am a first generation American. She were originally from Cuba. I was born here. But how the story goes is apparently my grandmother's first husband was on his deathbed. She was kind of lowest of low, I guess you could say. And someone knocked on her door, and it just so happened to be a Jehovah's Witness. And they preached to her about paradise and the resurrection. And I think during that time, because my biological grandfather was on his deathbed, it was so enticing. So she kind of started it all, which then was my mother. Then my mother actually married my father, who was a hardcore Catholic. But she pretty much put the rule of, if you want to be with me, you have to convert. My dad converted, and then that's how I was born.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it started off in Cuba.
Yes. This
Okay.
was probably, I want to say it was like the 60s, late 60s, somewhere around there.
And, it often does start in a family when there's some sort of vulnerability, when someone is hurting, when something major is going on in the world, or they're scared, or whatever the case may be. So I'm sure witnesses stopping by with what, like the resurrection hope or something like that, I'm sure that was a big deal to her in that vulnerable moment.
Yeah, I think, and that's kind of like an MO I kind of noticed later on as well, where it's like, I feel like they take advantage of people that are kind of in their weak, moment, or going through a weak path. And it's in that moment, it is enticing, like, hey, I know you're going through all this horrible hardship, but there is this great promise of peace and, perfect world. And, they kind of bait you in that way. And then later on, obviously, the true colors start to kind of show.
Well, I mean, we were literally taught that, weren't we? In
Yeah.
the meetings to look if there's children's toys in the yard, then we know they
Yes.
care about kids' futures. Is there a flower arrangement? Someone
Talk
died?
about that.
Great. Boy, do I have a tract for you. Like, we were taught literally to look for people's pain points.
That is actually a very good point. I kind of forgot about that, but you are right, because I even remember the congregation that I was in, they kind of did campaigns around the cemeteries even.
Yeah.
And they would say, like, take tracts about the resurrection and about paradise. And, it's a great opportunity to like talk about it, or even hospital rooms. And kind of looking back, yeah, that is very odd, to kind of approach someone at such a vulnerable and like weak moment in their life.
Yeah, it always makes me think of the foreign language congregations too. It's like, did you
Yeah.
move here and you don't know anyone and you can't speak the language? Great.
Come on in.
Come on in. We've got something in every language, right?
Yeah.
And we'll show an interest in you. And it's
Yeah.
very exploitative when you really think about it.
Yeah. No, it's
Even though we thought we were doing something good.
because at that time you're kind of thinking like, oh, I'm gonna give this fantastic promise, like, I'm gonna make you happy is kind of the perspective that they give you for you to give them. But at least me personally, deep down inside, it just felt very odd, to say the least.
It is.
Yeah.
So your mom marries your dad and has a stipulation.
Correct.
There's one way that this goes. So your dad, he studies, and does he become? Is he a quick study at this? Or?
So funny enough, which is I love I love my parents very much. I will say that. My dad apparently, again, this is how the story is told to me. They worked together. My dad kind of had an eye on my mom. My mom was kind of like, I'm not interested. I'm a Jehovah's Witness. My dad was like, who is that? What is that? And so I think my mom kind of gave him like a brief rundown of what it is, what it entails. I don't think he understood really what he was getting himself into, if I'm being honest. But he just says, "Yeah, sure, I'll convert. I don't care." So they essentially get married. My dad kind of says, "JK, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna convert," which kind of caused a little bit of a drift between them. And then apparently some magical elder comes and meets my father and, starts giving him Bible studies and tells him like he needs to get baptized and, this is the right choice and think about the kids. Cause at that time, they had gotten married, had a kid very soon afterwards. So I think they kind of angled it as far as, don't do it for yourself, but kind of do it for your future kids, like, don't you want them to have a relationship with Jehovah or God? Don't you want to raise them with good morals? Like, this is the perfect place to do it. So I think they kind of baited my dad into that a little bit. So he agreed. And yeah, he then ended up getting baptized. But would I say he's the best example? Probably not.
It makes me sad because it's such a perfect start to like a JW family because
Yeah.
it's like our relationship hinges on you. It's not about how we relate to one another and how we love and show up for one another. It's about this thing. It's about the organization. It's about,
Mm-hmm.
are you one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Everything hinges on that, and we're talking here just the relationship between your mom and dad. There was that stipulation, you have to become one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
And apparently the relationship got a little distant because he wasn't doing
Yeah.
that. And that the relationship shouldn't be based on this. But
Right.
that's how all relationships in Jehovah's Witnesses are. It's all based on, do you look like me, think like me, act
Mm-hmm.
like me as one of Jehovah's Witnesses? And if you can't, then I don't know that we can
Be
be
together. Yeah.
husband and wife, mom and dad, siblings, whatever. That's just, it's so unfair.
It's unfair and it's on and it's weird.
It's shallow. It's not very deep. It's just about
Yeah,
this thing. It's not like about you and who you
in a
are as a
relationship
person.
with God or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Or yeah,
agree.
relationship with God even.
Um, to me, it always sounded kind of odd because yeah, they always talked about how like you should have a relationship with God and only you can make that choice. But again, kind of to the whole, being shunned and disfellowship. Like, do you really have a choice, or you're kind of backed into a corner? It's like, well, you either gotta like pick one or two, and you're like, well, can I have other options? And they're like, no, it's just those two.
Sure. And why do Jehovah's Witnesses own God? Like
Right?
why? Like that's like they've patented God in some
Yeah.
way, and it's their intellectual property. Like, um, I mean, I know a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses believe in God in different ways or whatever, and like why? And their families telling them you don't believe in God anymore. Like, how can you do that?
It's funny that you say that because my mom will say that, like, oh, you need to have a relationship with God, and I'm like, I do. I don't have it the way that you want it, to
Sure.
be. But who says that I don't still read the Bible? Who says I still don't pray? And I think they just have in the mindset that if you're not doing it their way or you're
Mhm.
not a Jehovah's Witness, it doesn't matter if you're a great person. If you are not a baptized Jehovah's Witness, then you know it doesn't matter. It's like
Yeah.
all a wash.
Yeah, their God is not very
No.
expansive or grand. He's small and can be put in a box, and it's just full of rules and labels. It's not, it's all one way, and that's just the way they see it. And they own God. No one else can believe in God. They're all
Yeah,
wrong.
I agree.
Only Jehovah's Witnesses have belief in God.
I mean,
According to
that's why
them.
they do say they're the one true religion.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it's the height of human arrogance to think that if there's a God, we are the only people. Only I know him,
Right?
or her, or it, or whatever. I mean, even the terms we use are very human. But like, it's only up to me, and I know this God. No one else does. Like, wow, that's a lot
And
of arrogance.
And it's odd to me because, they always constantly talk about how, oh, we shouldn't trust man, or like we
Mhm,
shouldn't get into politics, or like, the human self-governing kind of thing. But
mhm,
I kind of think to myself, like, well, it's a little bit hypocritical because were we not formed by a random guy? No
mhm,
offense. Like,
mhm.
he just decided like one day this is what I'm gonna do. And if you kind of dive deep into Rutherford, like he pretty much, I don't know if you heard, but he kind of did like a coup as far as
Yeah, he took it from
yeah,
Russell.
it wasn't, they always made it seem like such a, I think they romanticized it actually, where it was like he had these ideas and thanks to that he put it into, action, and like, they studied the Bible, and it was never like the facts of exactly how it came to be. So it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, do as I say, not as I do.
Well, sure. I mean, if you look at all their latest announcements, right? Like all the
Oh,
changes in the organization, it's
that
not,
drives me up the
they
wall.
don't even pretend it's from Jehovah anymore.
No,
It's just the governing body has decided. And then if you look at whatever they've decided, there's usually no scripture. They don't even try to give
no,
scriptures to support it. They've
it's just
just
a new
decided.
interpretation. Yeah,
Yes. And if men can take away your right to grow hair that Jehovah gave you on your face,
right.
then and they can give that back to you, then they took it away in the first place. You're just following some dudes in New York. That's all it is. You're not,
100%.
that's not, they don't even pretend it's God anymore. At least in my day, they had the decency to be hidden
Right?
and
That
to
is true.
pretend that it was Jehovah. Now you see that Jehovah is just the governing body.
And well, they also uh and I don't know if, again, I don't know if this was maybe like a location thing, but they used to always tell us like you kind of need to listen to what we say, even if it doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
because it's coming from Jehovah, you know? And since it's coming from Jehovah, you can't question it because then you're questioning Jehovah. And you get into kind of like this, excuse the language, but this mind fuck where you're like, oh my God, I don't want to question Jehovah. Like, you're right. Like, I'll listen and I'll obey. And whatever you say is like it. And that's it. I'm not going to go any further.
Hmm.
Um, but, you know, you kind of ask yourself, like, but why? Like, what came to be that you decided this all of a sudden? Like, oh, JK, guys, beards are allowed. You know, we did a mistake. We got a new interpretation. Like,
Well,
I
where
don't
does it
get it.
say in the Bible to have blind obedience?
Yeah,
What's the
I don't.
scriptural basis for that? If you did that in Israel, you'd have ended up in a lot of messes because they were constantly falling off the wagon in some
Yeah.
way. I mean, in biblical history, and getting in trouble with their God. So, like,
Hmm.
if you just blindly follow, I don't know. There's a whole verse about what a man leading a blind man, and they
Yeah.
both fall into a pit or something. Um, no, I don't know. And I mean, yeah, it's interesting. It's just,
It
and
is.
I'm an
Yeah.
atheist, so whatever. But it's just interesting to watch the level of belief and again back to your story, just that like that belief from in your origin story, basically the origin of your nuclear family, that belief was so important that it was already coming between relationships,
Yeah.
and it is used as the defining measure of whether or not relationships exist.
100%.
And that's sad. That's very sad.
It is, and it's funny you say that because I think that's how I feel towards my parents' relationship a little bit. It is And I love them very dearly, and I'm grateful because
Mhm.
if not, I would not be here. But a part of me sees it as a sad dynamic a little bit
I'm
because
sure it is.
like my dad, so it was him and his sister ends up passing at a very young age due to some medical complications, so it was just him. And then my grandparents um pretty much end up losing him overnight. It's the best way to put it, because again, they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. They're Catholic. They, you know, are not going to conform to the Jehovah's Witnesses way. So it kind of became where my mom was like, well, you need to kind of distance yourself from them. And I feel bad because that was their only child that was left. And, although we were somewhat present in my grandparents' life, we weren't there all as much as we should have been. And I feel like not only did my dad get cheated out of, a life, but also they got cheated out of a son and grandkids. And I think that was kind of the sadder part growing up.
That is huge,
Yeah.
and it's something that's not talked about enough, and that is all these worldly people, non-Jehovah's Witnesses on
Yeah.
the outside, who end up just devastated because some part of the family they cared about, maybe it's their kids or whatever, become witnesses, and then just I mean, what does any abuser do? They isolate you, and then you start. So witnesses start isolating, and then I mean, I've had the conversations with both my family on the outside and my wife's family on the outside, who were never witnesses, who watched both of our sets of parents kind of gravitate toward and become this thing later in life, and then watched us kids, their grandkids, just disappear into this thing,
Hmm.
and then basically never heard from again until some of them either passed away or we got out. And it's just it's very sad. Jehovah's Witnesses destroy families. They
100%.
absolutely come in between families.
100%. And whoever says that they don't, I mean, they're just lying to
That's
themselves.
diluted. It's just factual. You can see it.
Yeah.
There's so many destroyed families because of them.
Yeah, I think that caused a lot of friction, especially because my grandmother ends up getting sick with Parkinson later on.
Mhm.
And again, I just even me as a child, because it's like what we were talking about earlier, when you're a kid, you're kind of just following whatever your parents tell you to do. And we were taught that if you're not a Jehovah's Witness, we don't kind of keep it at a minimum is the best
Mhm.
way to put it. And it was awkward, I guess, for a lack of better words, getting close to my grandparents or like bonding with them, because in the back of my head I'm like, oh well, you don't love Jehovah, so therefore, like, I shouldn't really be talking with you, or I shouldn't get close to you. So I don't feel like I ever had a normal relationship with them, if I'm being completely honest. And if I did, it was very like guilt heavy, because it was, you're sick, you're kind of at your ends, but I can't really form a bond or relationship with you.
Well, yeah, it's very sad, and it's the reason that Jehovah's Witnesses can shun and detach so easily at the end.
Hmm.
We often look at the detachment with horror and shock and surprise, but if we look at the fact that they never attach to begin with, it shouldn't be shocking because they don't know how to attach. The attachment is to the organization,
Yeah.
not towards the person, because all persons could potentially lead you down a spiritual destination. Everyone could be a threat at some point if
Hmm.
your own child, your mom, your dad, whoever.
Yeah.
So
It
you
doesn't
have
matter.
to keep everyone at arm's length. There is no real attachment in the organization. No, look at attachment theory. There's not going to be a lot of secure attachment
Yeah.
inside Jehovah's Witnesses. Everyone there is going to be anxious, disorganized, avoidance, because everyone's a threat, including grandma and grandpa who aren't even a
Literally.
witness. I mean, like, what do they do? If you're feeling stuck in your life after cult involvement and can't find the life you want, Leaving a cult is a new beginning on a path to healing, not some magical end itself that is healing. Relief from the immediate pain feels good at first, but that's not necessarily true happiness. The feelings of social awkwardness and isolation, lack of self worth, perfectionism, patterns of being attracted to emotionally unavailable people, not even knowing who you are yourself. All of these things and more are lingering effects of that environment. Being in a cult isn't just following a doctrine, but it's following a culture, a way of life, a way of being that doesn't just go away because you stopped attending meetings. If you want to shortcut the path to healing instead of trying to figure it out on your own, maybe even work with me professionally in my cult recovery coaching practice, you can find opportunities to do that and also for other cool resources at my website, exjwhelp.com. That's exjwhelp.com.
That's that's exactly what I say. I'm like, what could two little old people, have done so bad to their grandchilds? And obviously the bad was them wanting to celebrate birthdays or, celebrate milestones. And it's sad to me now because they got cheated out of, that, right? Like a first Christmas or, birthdays or, holidays and stuff like that. So it is sad. They obviously since then have passed, but as an adult, I think I kind of reflect a little bit, where I'm like, man, that sucks all around. It sucked for them. It sucked for my dad. I think he kind of bottles it down. My dad is not a very emotional person. I don't know if he was before, but I think now it's just one of those where you just keep quiet and just go with the flow and try not to get, caught in the weeds pretty much.
That's how you survive as one of
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses. Genesis, when I our first, so was it our first Christmas? I think it was our first Christmas. I got a box from my cousin, and I opened it up, and it was the Christmas ornaments that my grandparents used to have on their tree before I was 8, and we became Jehovah's Witnesses. Once we became Jehovah's Witnesses, my grandparents stopped celebrating Christmas. There was no grandkids anymore. That was the fun
That's so
part.
sad.
They wanted to share it with their grandkids.
Yeah.
And so they shipped their ornaments off to probably to my aunt and uncle, who then gave them to my cousin. And then my cousin had held on to a lot of them. And then she gave them to us. And, we display them on our Christmas tree now,
Yeah.
which is a beautiful thing to be able to do. But sadly, grandma and grandpa aren't here anymore. And it just, Jehovah's Witnesses don't even think about the rest of the family.
I don't.
They don't think about anybody outside of themselves and the people in the congregation. That's who they think about.
Yeah, I think they care.
Realize.
No, and I think for them, their priority is to have a seat filled, and make the appearance of what they talk about versus it's like what you said. I don't think they actually care is for a lack of better words. I don't think they care about the destruction or the effects that it's taking on people when they go home. The same thing as shun. I don't know. I feel like things have changed nowadays, but back in the day when somebody was disfellowship, they used to tell us you need to pretend like that person died.
Oh yeah.
They told my brother was disfellowship, but he was the first one. And I don't even think he was 18. I can't remember how old he was, but I know for a fact he definitely was not 18. And they told my mom, you have to pretty much pretend like he died. And I remember my mom asking, well, what if he gets into a car accident or he's in the hospital and he needs to call me? They would say, it doesn't matter. He is dead. And it's such a cruel thing, especially at that age. It's such a cruel thing to think about. And, my brother had to leave the house and he wasn't even 18 yet. I mean, it's such a disruptive, mind altering mentality of seeing people and relationships. But then they expect for you to go and preach, the good news and show love to people that you've never met in your life. So it's like, make it make sense, because it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. You would think that if you really wanted someone back, you would treat them well, and
Right?
it
Yeah.
would be more attraction marketing than this devastation marketing. This like, hey, I'm just going to socially kill you and then see if you come back because you want to be resurrected socially again.
Yeah.
That's just manipulation. That's just
100%.
control. It's punitive. It's not love. We all know that.
100%. And
All Jehovah's Witnesses know it's not love
oh,
either.
no, no.
They
I
know.
mean, you're lying to yourself
Yeah.
if you say that every action or every
Yeah.
rule or principle or whatever you want to call it is with love. It is not with love. Could it maybe have started? Sure. But I do definitely feel like it's been manipulated in a sense to just, it's all about control. It's all about manipulation. It's how can I essentially keep these people here and listen and obey.
Mhm.
And kind of to your point of, when you were talking about when they shun you out and they kind of entice you to come back. I think something that's not really talked a lot about is the fact that they completely handicap you as far as fitting into society or, the real
Oh,
world.
yeah.
Like you can't get a degree. Socializing is kind of awkward a little bit because you're not allowed to socialize with anybody outside the congregation. Self guilt, self hatred, and then they release you, kind of. And then I love how they say, oh, their life is going to go so bad because they lost the blessing. I don't think it's the blessing that they lost. I think they've lost their sense of how to be a normal, productive person in normal society.
Well, they never
And
even
then,
had that.
right? And then, of course,
Yeah.
you have people that either A, come back because they have no other choice, and they miss their family and they want to talk with their family, or B, you have people that completely derail because, again, you know, they're being confronted with all these firsts that we just don't know how to approach. We don't know how to deal with it. And those are the stories that they love to say, like, oh, did you see what happened to so and so? Like that happened because he lost the blessing and he went to Satan's world. Satan got him. Like, did he though? Did he?
Well, no, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. When
Yeah.
every picture you've ever seen of a worldly person in a publication
Oh yeah, it's the
is a
worst of the worst.
woman with a needle in her arm and a guy on the other arm, and she's somehow smoking something and wearing a short skirt, and
Mm-hmm.
like all these things. It's just like you think that when you go out into the world, you have to go really hard.
Yeah.
Because you are that compressed spring, you've got a lot of pent up
Mm-hmm.
energy to get out, but
100%.
also you have no idea how to get it out in a healthy way. So you're going to go out there and you're going to pop off and you're going to blow up and then you're going to feel bad about it. And then you're going to come back because you just want to be around your family because life
Yeah.
hasn't gone well. And then they're going to put you up on the stage at the next
Set an
convention
example.
and you're going to get up there and you're going to go, young ones, let me tell you, like you're some old grizzled veteran. Like,
Yeah.
I was out in the world and there's nothing out there for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, man, just because you failed doesn't mean somebody else
Right?
will. Like maybe you just didn't know what you were doing and
Yeah.
you got thrown to the wolves at apparently less than 18.
Mm-hmm.
In your brother's case, we'll talk more about that, but you're thrown out to the wolves. Well, yeah, you're a kid.
Right? Like, what do you expect?
With no parents, no
Mm-mm.
support, no job skills, no education, or little usually, and you're supposed to just suddenly make it?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Let me take all that from you, mom and dad, and throw you out to the wild and see
Yeah.
how well you do. Let me just kick you out of the house and see if you can make a life out of nothing.
You're set up for
And
failure.
And if it goes badly, it's because you lost Jehovah's blessing.
Correct.
If it goes well, it's because Satan's blessing you because you're in his world now and
Yeah.
you belong to him. So either way, they have a dumb excuse as to why it ends up like it is. that makes them feel better about where they are and what they've done, they're unwilling to give you any credit for anything.
Not at all. For them, it's they have to fit the narrative. Um, and even when things are going good, because I've heard this from my mom even till now. Um, and I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but I feel like I have a good life. I'm happy. I am fulfilled.
Heck yeah.
I'm very happy where I'm at. And to my mom's explanation is, oh, because Satan loves to kind of have you at an all-time high, and you're just in this high, but at one point Satan's gonna drop you and you're gonna hit the floor so hard. And I'm just like, how, like, that is such a horrible, horrible perspective to have on life, where it's like you're almost like fearing success because it's either Jehovah has to bless you, but it has to come through all these trials and tribulations and isolation.
Okay, so Jehovah drops you really
Right?
hard. Okay.
So it's like, make it make sense to me.
At
It
least
doesn't make any
Satan's
sense.
blessing me. Satan's my boy.
Right? Like, I'm like, is this
okay.
actually as bad as I was told? But, like, it's just, it's again, it's whatever it takes to fit their narrative. And it doesn't matter how sketchy it's almost like an abusive relationship. Like, oh, he didn't hit me because he's a douchebag. He hit me because that's how he shows love. Or, oh, it's just one time. It's like all these red flags, that I'm just like, how can you keep telling yourself that this is normal? Like, is this not weird? Is there not a single shred of doubt in you that's like, okay, this definitely doesn't make sense,
Well, you used the example. I mean, it's kind of like domestic abuse,
Yeah.
and only it's your heavenly father or whatever who's hitting you, and you learn to just, I mean, you suck it down. Okay, this is, as long as at the end of the day there's this reward and there's this
Mm-hmm.
carrot on the stick that I can continue to chase, I'm willing to endure and be long suffering, right? These terms they use. And it's really sad to watch human beings, what do they say? Someone who's in a domestic violence situation, was it statistically, it's like 7 or 8 times they try to leave before they're successful.
Something like that, yeah.
Because it's very difficult. And I mean, I think the same is true in a lot of ways with Jehovah's Witnesses. A lot of people in there aren't very happy. They're just trying so hard to convince themselves that they are. And, the beatings continue until morale improves, which it never does.
No.
None of they're usually not coming across super excited and happy. And when they see someone like you who is, they have to try to bring you down, because
100%.
then that justifies why they are staying where they're staying.
Yeah.
Jenny and I owed, I mean, I told the story in this JW Life, my first podcast, but we owed $58,000 to the IRS. And we spent 18 months working furiously, cleaning every house under the sun, and doing everything we could to stack cash. And we paid it off in 18 months.
Good, yeah.
But while we were doing it, we weren't going to meetings or whatever. And my mom told me, like, you're going to fail. Even if you pay off the debt, something will just happen and you'll get kicked back down again. Well, you know what, Mom? Didn't happen. Live a great life. Guy, I mean, I'm certainly not independently wealthy yet because of you all telling me not to, invest in retirement and things like that. But I have retirement and investments and these things, and I have a paid off house, and I live debt free and all this stuff because I learned better things and I did better things.
Yeah.
Therefore, I got better results. Has nothing to do with Jehovah, Satan, or anything in between.
100%. I mean, you could have not said that better. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't give credit to somebody else. I did it.
And it's to me, it's a sad way to live, that it's just constantly, even like your highs, there's always that. It's like what you said, right? They have to kind of knock you down in a way, whether it be like, oh well, Jehovah's not blessing you, so how do you expect to succeed, or just you wait, and it's
Yep.
like, God, that's such a sad way to live, like constantly thinking like, when is the other shoe going to drop? Maybe the
Yep.
shoe isn't going to drop, and it's like what you said, like you kind of need to put the work in to be where you are in life. And they essentially have taken everything away. So really, what do you have at the end of the day besides the organization, the congregation, and Jehovah? Nothing.
No.
And I
They're just
think,
waiting on Jehovah to fix all of their problems in life.
well,
They're not tackling them.
I mean, to your point of the 401k and retirement, I was always told like, oh, you don't have to worry about middle school because Armageddon's going to come. Then it was like, oh, you don't have to worry about high school or college. Well, here I am in my 30s, like I'm still kicking it. But it was the same with 401k. They used to say, what's the point of saving for retirement if we're not going to be here? They used to give the example of, oh, well, why would you, if you go to a hotel and you rent a room, why would you decorate it if you're only here for a temporary, amount of time? And I would be like, okay, but like, how long is this stay going to be? You know what I mean? Like, even if it's true, is this going to be in my generation or is this going to be like further down? But yeah. And now that my parents are at an age of retirement, they have nothing is the truth. They have nothing. And it is concerning to me, as a child, where I'm like, what are you guys going to do? Because
they're gonna have to figure that out because they did that to themselves.
100%. And it's sad because the amount of older people, with health issues and where's Jehovah or where's the congregation or where's the money? Because they also teach us not only not to get an education, but they also teach us to get simple jobs. They always used to love to say, do absolute bare minimum when it comes to your employer, because all this other extra time should be dedicated to preaching or studying. And it's like, okay, well, how are my bills going to get paid? And they used to give the example, literally, it was like pray and just hope for the best, pretty much, when it comes to paying your bills. So yeah, it's just sad.
See how that works out for you. I mean, I've unfortunately known a lot of, I've known ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who paid their parents' bills or contributed to it. And I'll always say, watch what happens if you stop. If you have a financial reversal and you're not paying their bills anymore and you're disfellowshipped and they're talking to you right now, what happens when you stop? As soon as you stop paying, they stop talking to you. Suddenly they grow a conscience. It's amazing how selfish Jehovah's Witnesses they are. I mean, it's baked into their necessary family business rule, whereby the witness can reach out to you and determine when they need something. Suddenly it's necessary family business. But if you're homeless and on the street, they couldn't care less.
No, that's part of the process.
That's your consequences.
Yeah.
Well, okay, well then that works both ways. You enjoy your consequences. You didn't prepare for retirement. I mean, the government will take care of you. There are things out there, and you won't die. Go do that. That's the life you earned. That's the life you worked for. That's the life you wanted me to have. You go and live it. It's not my problem.
Yeah. No, you're very right on that.
You did that. And the problem with Jehovah's Witnesses is they never suffer. They put their consequences on everybody else. And make everybody else feel responsible, like we're supposed to fill all of their shortcomings and to fill all the gaps in their life. No. You're my parent. You're supposed to be supporting
it's reverse.
me.
Yeah.
From the time we're kids, instead of Jehovah's Witness parents supporting their children and what their children want and allowing their children to have a fulfilled life and going to their kids' soccer games, even though maybe they don't like soccer or whatever, just because they love their kid. No, the kids are made to support. All the support goes upwards. We were designed and bred we have to support our parents and everything that they do. That's backwards.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% on that.
It's
And
so backwards.
I don't think that hit me till I met my husband, or
Yeah,
my
I'm
now
sure.
husband.
Yeah.
Um, because, they always taught, like you said, right? They always put that the family dynamics are broken in the world, and divorce and affairs and drugs and alcohol. When in reality, I think the most scandalous of scandals that I have ever heard always come from JW couples or JWs themselves. It's never, I mean, it's funny because sometimes I'll tell my husband stories and he's like, "What? Like, how?" And you're just like, I mean, there's nothing else to do. I guess we just get bored and go crazy in there.
Mhm.
But when I met him and I met his family, it's funny because I used to joke around with them, but I used to say, "You guys are like a Lifetime movie." It was like the picture, like the hallmark, like just the perfect family, like you know, good earning couple, supporting their kids, life choices and paths, and supporting their careers, and supporting, like what you said, like going to a soccer game, or helping them make right decisions, helping them with college, setting them up for success for the future. And it's such a polar opposite of what was talked about, in the congregation, about how these worldly families are so sad and unfulfilled and miserable. And you're like, actually, I think we were the ones that were, all those things, and they were actually doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, you've already mentioned it's our parents who want us to fail.
I
They're
mean, yeah,
hoping that we'll end up in the
to
gutter
prove their narrative. Yeah.
to prove their narrative. They
Yeah.
don't want to see us succeed.
Hmm.
Instead of the wind beneath our wings, they're an anchor trying to drag us down to
Yeah.
their level. It's the was it the black crabs in the bucket story? One black crab tries to
Oh,
climb
yeah,
out, and they all pull it back down. That's Jehovah's Witnesses. They try
it
to
is.
pull you back down. They don't want you to succeed or be happy. They want you to
Mhm.
be miserable with them.
That's
Hashtag best
exactly
life
what it
ever.
is. You're so right.
I mean, there's literally a talk I used to this circulated in our congregation. I know I mentioned it before on here, but his name was Brother Mac. He was some, I don't know, district overseer, some heavy somewhere, and he was a good speaker. But he had a talk, and it was all about how, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we're all just living on pills and prayers, brothers.
Yeah.
Because this old system, and it's so terrible. And look, the world has a lot of messed up things in it, and
Oh,
I just
yeah,
mean the
100%.
world at large. Jehovah's Witnesses being one of those messed up
Mhm.
things, and but you can still have a great life. You can still love people. You can still connect to people and the world around you. You don't have to be living on pills and prayers. It's a sad way to live.
That's what I was going to say. It is such a sad way to live. It is no different to me than just like an alcoholic or a drug addict. Like, you're pretty
Yeah.
much numbing your brain. And I think that's something I've noticed with my mom, or better said, my parents, because they're still part of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But everybody else has left as far as family goes. So we kind of, sometimes we have like these little chats and we're just like, what is holding them still there, And I think it's the fact that, well, two things. I think it's um, it is scary, and especially at an older age, to realize that you have wasted pretty much your whole entire life living in a scam.
Sunk
Um,
cost, yes.
I think that is a very shocking revelation to kind of come to. And then the other thing is, I think that, I mean, every time I talk to my mom, there's always like a JW party, or there's like a JW event, or this or that. Like, they're constantly, I think they're so, and I use air quotes of busy
Hmm.
doing things,
Hmm.
that they don't have time to really sit with their thoughts and think, hey, this might not be what I thought it was, or this doesn't really sit well with me, or there's some red flags here that doesn't make me feel good. So it's like this constant, like, hey, look at me, and there's like a fire behind, kind of thing. But it is sad. It is very sad to think that all these people are, some of them wholeheartedly believe in everything that is talked about.
Mhm.
So it is sad to me to think that they are hoping and praying that Armageddon is going to come, sooner than later. So then all their concerns and worries could be taken away. But it's like, why live in the future and you're kind of letting your whole presence like escape your hands? Like, it's just so sad. It's
Well, I
such
mean,
a
you
sad way to see
said
it.
it. It's an addiction.
It is.
This is what they think about from the time they get up in the morning to the time they go to sleep. It dominates every waking thought. When they go on vacation, they have to get ahead of it. They've got to go to the meeting somewhere
Yep.
else. They'll willingly give up their kids for it.
Mm-hmm.
It dominates it is the dominant factor in their life. It is an escape from reality for them, with the hope that eventually it brings something else. This is the addiction.
Yeah.
You can be addicted to an ideology as well, and just as you can any other substance, and it produces some of the same brain chemistry. And this is where they get their high from. It's from doing this thing, and it's everything to them. They invest their entire life into it. That
Yeah.
they're everything. There's nothing that is not a part of it.
I mean, they even tell you, well, I think this was catered more towards the older population.
Mhm.
But they would say, oh, if you want to leave your house, to the organization, you could do that. Like, that is a way of contributing. And I'm kind of like, how selfish, in a sense, can you really be to almost, not only are you scamming, because that's what I feel like it is, not only are you scamming all these people, but you're also scamming this older population. And I know personally from when I was growing up in the congregation, there were older people that left their house
Mhm.
to the governing body or the watchtower or whoever it was and left their family with nothing
Mhm.
because, that was the righteous thing to do. Um, and it's just like it is a very narcissistic, self-centering cult. It's a doomsday cult. But
And
it's
that shows something about the people in it.
yeah,
You mentioned the term narcissistic. There's a lot of narcissism and codependency inside of the organization, and it it doesn't care about anybody outside
mm-mm,
of it. If you can leave everything that you have to the organization and not your children. So people often think that Watchtower, Jehovah's Witnesses are the problem. No, they're a symptom of a greater problem that lies within mom and dad and
yeah,
all of us at one point in time. And it's a problem that we all have to work on even after we leave, because they create either these narcissistic tendencies or these people pleasing, love addicted, codependent types of feelings in us. And so those are the things that we have to work on after we leave, well, among others. But it's just a bad setup. It's a really, really,
yeah.
really bad setup that hurts a lot of people.
It really is, and it's almost like you're having to reprogram yourself
Mhm.
because I remember when I left, um, I almost felt bad for how good my life was going. As weird as that sounds,
It's like survivor's guilt. Yeah.
yeah, you're kind of like, man, like life is good, And you kind of like stop for a second, you're like, oh, like you're kind of taught that if stuff is going good, like just you wait, because Satan's going to come around and he's going to, he's going to tempt you, or he's going to, you know, do something to cause you to like question your existence, pretty much. So it, it was a lot of reprogramming as far as like, you know what, it's okay to enjoy my life. It's okay to do good and reap good. It's okay to build relationships. It's okay to be everything that you essentially were taught not to be. And it be okay because you are not the problem. They were the problem. So you
100%.
kind of have to get into the mindset like shift of okay, like it is what it is. I'm going to take it day by day. But I think it is very um, helpful to kind of just be in the moment and kind of let it guide you. Enjoy what you're doing. And it's not as bad as what they make it seem. It's actually kind of way better.
No, it's not. I mean, it's so much better. As I tell everyone that I work with at some point in my coaching practice, I mean, the fact that everyone that comes to me is all struggling in similar areas with kind of the same thing shows that it's not you, it's the environment you came from, which
Yeah.
means now it's unfortunately your responsibility to fix this. It's your responsibility to change, but it was never you in the first place. So you can change this. You
Mm-hmm.
can change and you can be happy and you can have a wonderful life. It was the environmental aspect of everything that has impacted you today. And unfortunately, just changing environment doesn't necessarily change
Yeah.
things. And time doesn't heal, but time plus healthy work heals.
Mm-hmm.
But you can change it. That's the beautiful thing. You don't have to stay stuck. You can
Yeah.
actually be happy, which is just a sad thing to even
It is
have to
sad.
say. It's sad
Yeah.
to say you can actually be happy, especially as we grew up as Jehovah's happy people.
Yeah.
Um, let's get into that a little bit. So, when you were growing up in that as a kid, let's say, how did it make you see yourself and the world around you?
Um, it's funny because I think my mom pokes fun of what I'm about to say, but I think if I could sum up my whole, childhood being,
Mhm.
growing up in as a Jehovah's Witness, I would pretty much sum it up as fear and anxiety. It's just those two specific words. And my mom jokes, as far as like, oh my God, when you were little, you had so much anxiety. Everything gave you anxiety. And I'm like, well, if you're kind of taught, that Armageddon is going to come just any moment, you know, uh, like that's something that would hinder in the back of my mind where I'd be like, I would go to sleep and be like, oh my God, is this going to be the night? Am I going to wake up and, everyone's going to be gone? Also when you go to the meetings, I mean, they don't really censor what they say, but there would be things that they would say, like, for example, like, the people that had not converted essentially would die and that their bodies would just be littered everywhere and that birds would then come and eat them and we'd have to help clean up. And I'm just like, you know, maybe to an older person, but when you're like a 7, 8, maybe like a preteen, like that is pretty traumatic. Not only that, but you're also kind of put into constant fear of, don't make friends at school because they're bad. Make sure that, that essentially at every present moment, you have to eat, breathe, sleep, Jehovah. And if you're not, then you may not make it into paradise. Just because you're Jehovah's Witness does not mean that you will make it to paradise. So it was like all this constant fear and anxiety of, am I doing enough? Am I doing this correct? Yeah, I think anxiety is the best way to, put into simple words as far as how it felt growing up. I think there were moments of happiness and fun. I won't
Sure.
lie. I think the congregation that I was in, there was a lot of kids, all of us kind of around the same age. So school wise, uh, we kind of had at least a couple people to kind of associate with, so it didn't feel so isolating versus
Like
like
in your class or
yeah, like class or even like our schools were pretty small.
Mhm.
So it didn't feel, like during lunchtime we'd have people to sit with, if during birthdays and all that stuff that they would take us out of classes, like we would have a little group. So that part didn't feel as daunting. Um, I think as I got older and you kind of want to start fitting in, and you kind of want to start making friends and you meet good people and you kind of want to go over to their homes and they're like, no. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because she's not a Jehovah's Witness. Even if by the book they were perfect, great, great child, great family, great grades, everything. So it was just this constant fight or flight mode of just nitpicking everything and as what I'm doing right. Am I talking to the wrong person? Did I get too close to so and so? So it just bottles you down is the best way to put it.
And this is why the cry of the XJW is no matter what I do, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Because that's how they make you feel. And it's really sad to me. I don't know. It's sad to me that mom, I don't know, thinks the fear and anxiety, like teases about the fear and anxiety. Like, mom, if my life,
I'm like, where'd it come from?
if I'm afraid and anxious all the time, why didn't you try to help? Why didn't you try to like? Can we find out where this is coming from? Obviously, can't because we know where it was coming from, right? And that stuff is traumatic to think that your little schoolmates are going to get incinerated in a fire at any moment. And it's just, you shouldn't be thinking about that as a kid. You should be playing and having a good time and learning things and growing, not thinking about the end of the world from the time you're little.
And I think, funny that you say that, I want to say it was like third or fourth grade. I had a very, very fantastic school teacher. I think around the same time was when my older brother got this fellowship. And point being is I felt like my life was just spiraling out of control. And I remember the teacher talking with my mom and kind of bringing up these concerns with her and saying, hey, I think maybe you should go talk to a therapist. And therapists and Jehovah's Witnesses do not mix well together.
No.
And I remember my mom, I think at that time it wasn't really openly discussed about therapy yet. So I think my mom was like, oh, okay, I think that's a good idea. I remember only going to one session and kind of divulging everything. And when the therapist kind of spoke with my mom was like, okay, we're taking you out of this real quick. Because it was very obvious what the problem was. And then the elders were like, pretty much, how it is. Like, oh, these people don't understand us. They're built with the world's, mentality, and therefore they cannot help you. The Bible, and us are the ones that can help you. So essentially I went from, proper therapy to elder therapy, which is just another form of just, I didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't want to get in trouble. What what am I doing that's wrong? What can I do that's good enough? So
what's so sad there and what utterly breaks my heart and also shows something about this thing is you went to therapy, hit on what was going on. Therapist has a healthy conversation with your mom who knows that you deal with fear and anxiety all the time. And the response is to pull you away from the help. And that again is what Jehovah's Witnesses do.
100%.
They don't want to see you get up off the mat because then you will leave them. They want you stuck with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, I'm so sorry for the little you. I can imagine. So you're in third grade, which is what, like 8 years old? Somewhere
I don't know how.
It's something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And so you're like, let's say you're an 8 or 9 year old kid, and you're around this time, your brother is what age? Like 17?
He should be, I can't remember exactly because we're like about 7 years apart. I want to say he was like 15, 16-ish.
And he's getting disfellowshipped?
He's pretty much getting disfellowshipped. So funny enough, which is so mundane if you think about it. So the reason he got this fellowship, so my older brother, he is, he's very knowledgeable in as far as he can retain a lot of facts. He can read a whole book and he will be able to pretty much tell you exact page, exact paragraph of an exact sentence. He just has that great memory, I guess you could say. And he enjoys knowledge, which got him a little bit into trouble here and there, because he would challenge some of the stuff that was said. But the rule back then was if somebody did something bad, air quotes of bad, then essentially, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was you had to talk with them and tell them that either A, they had to go confess to the elders, or then you had to go to the elders and pretty much rat them out.
Right.
How the story goes is apparently there was like a small group of them. They were smoking weed. One of them ends up feeling guilty and confesses, which is fine. My brother really did not care. So he then tells the group, "Hey guys, I confessed. You guys have to go do the same." They were all in different congregations, and fun fact: not every congregation is created equal.
Oh,
There's some rules that apply to some and don't apply to others. So, my brother's like, I don't care, whatever, it is what it is. He goes to the group of elders in our congregation at the time and pretty much confesses, and the elders were like, okay, well, who else was in the group? And my brother was like, well, they're going to confess to their elders, so therefore we need to wait, because that's how it works. And they were like, no, you need to tell us exactly who those kids were. And my brother was like, absolutely not. It says specifically in the Bible, you guys have said it from, the stage. This is how it goes. Well, because of that, they said that my brother was not being remorseful, that he was being rebellious, that he was questioning, the elders, and he was questioning the congregation. So therefore, in order to protect the flock, the best thing was to disfellowship this 16-year-old, pretty much, because that makes perfect sense. So they pretty much disfellowship him. All I remember was the night. I either when they told them or whatnot, but I just remember a night that pretty much it was like a whole ordeal in the household. My parents were pretty much telling him he needs to pack up, he needs to leave, he needs to leave. Mind you, where is the 16-year-old going to go?
He's 16.
Point is, my grandmother obviously takes him in. But it was such a rush. It was like, you need to get out. Like that was just pretty much the energy in the household. And I did not understand what was going on. And then the next day, my mom sits me down and she's like, oh, they're going to disfellowship your brother, and, we can't talk with him. And I know it's going to be hard, but that's, Jehovah's will. And I think that was like the first time, even at that age, where I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, that doesn't sound right to me. Because my older brother was like my best friend. And that just, when they announced him, the way that people started treating me, started treating our family, because it was like, oh my gosh, and then the other ironic part is you had people coming up to us and telling us like, oh my gosh, like we would have never thought that, your brother would have been disfellowship, or like, what did he do? Or like,
he wouldn't rat out his friends.
And I'm just like, it just seemed like such a, am I living a dream? Is this a dream? And I'm just going to wake up and just,
nightmare.
Yeah, literally it was a nightmare. And it just, I think that was the first time that I felt like I don't feel the love, I guess you could say. I don't feel this, we're a family kind of mentality. It almost felt like high school, gossipy drama. I think people cared more about what happened and getting, the latest gossip versus like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Do you need support? And obviously when you talk with my mom, she has a very different story, but again, she's always going to make sure that they look, in the better light.
A story where everyone rallied around you or something?
Yes. Like sometimes my mom will say things and I'm like, that's not how I went down at all. but I think it's her way of like self-protecting
Sure.
herself. But it was not like,
yeah.
yeah, it was
Everyone in active addiction does that, right?
right. Yeah.
They make up stories and say things went in ways way better than they did. That's just part of it, and it can also be rather gaslighting.
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
and I mean, you're 8, 9, he's 16. This is such an abusive thing to occur in your family. I mean, just think you're 8, 9, and your brother dies.
Yeah,
Just
that's pretty
out
much
of
what it was.
nowhere, your brother's dead. Like, what do you do with that? No one, I'm sure you were struggling. That has to, I mean, either you are an 8, 9 year old who can just somehow easily compartmentalize, or that's really going to throw you.
I mean, 100%. I felt it really did feel to me like a death. Like there was a grieving process.
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously, this was many years ago, and I'm sure probably some of it I've, hid deep somewhere in. But
Sure.
I do know that there was long periods of times. Like, I mean, I went from seeing him every day in the household and, going to school and, doing things together and that kind of stuff to just not hearing from him for months and months end. And then the little bit that I would hear from him, would usually come from my mom. And it was always more on the negative light of, oh, the latest thing with your brother is this. And in the back of my head now as an adult, I'm kind of like, well, what do you expect? You know, at 16, 17, like you don't know anything. Like you're self-discovering yourself. And, unfortunately, I think my older brother had to do a lot of growing up quicker than the norm.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
and that kind of came
And
along
while
with
traumatized.
correct. And that kind of came along with, some poor decisions, which
Of
thankfully
course.
now it's, he's turned his life around. But at that time, he did make some poor decisions because of, like you said, the trauma of it. And also just being thrown to the wild at such a young age and not having the basic fundamentals of anything, really.
I mean, we had a kid try to break into our car and caught it on video camera.
Hmm.
And the parents brought the kid down. I'll put parents in quotes,
Yeah.
because once they came down, what we found out was this kid's never done anything like this ever in his life. But his biological mom apparently had just passed of a drug overdose. And he's just a kid who doesn't know what he's doing,
Yeah.
and he's just trying to get attention or act out in some way to feel something because he doesn't know how to feel what he's feeling. So yeah, he made a bad decision, and that was dealt with. But like, um in the, well, at least we tried to deal with it in the most loving way we
Yeah.
could. But like, that's what kids do when kids are really hurt.
Right.
Kids
Yeah.
don't know what to do, and they're traumatized, and everything else we've talked about. Like, yeah, what'd you expect?
Yeah. It's, I think,
Because you did this to him, he's now doing these
yeah.
things.
Yeah. And I
You own
feel
a
bad
share
for
of that.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think, and, we have open conversations about it now, but I think he could have done so much with his life as far as like education and career and just life choices in general. Um, but he jokes around, but he says it, he's like, we were completely handicapped. Like
Oh,
we
yeah.
were set up, raised for failure. Um, you know, the congregation kind of feeds it the opposite way where they're trying to make it seem like they want to, uplift you and they want what's best for you and good morals and good this and good that. But realistically speaking, it is the polar opposite. And I know that they used to talk about how it's like the wolf in the sheep's skin or something along those lines. And it
Yeah,
kind of,
they were the wolf in
they were
sheep's
the
clothing.
ones, right? I'm like, I think it's the opposite. Like you guys, I think with the pretense of, do good and love thy neighbor and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when you kind of look back, it's the complete opposite. Like, so many families have been hurt, so many people, and even like in our area, like there were people that ended their life simply
Oh,
because they just felt they were unhappy. They felt like they had no other choice because the option to leave the Jehovah's Witness is just not, that's just not an option. And it's sad because it was literally life or death for them. And it is such a horrible, horrible way to kind of view life, where it's like, I'm so unhappy that I have to choose this option because leaving is just, that's just not it.
too painful.
Yeah.
There's no other option. Well, and the self-hatred comes into play
Hmm.
and different things. I mean, I never, I was there a lot, let's just say.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, they set that up, and unfortunately, I know of many examples of people who are no longer with us, and
Yeah.
it's a damn shame. I mean, you're faced with either social and familial death,
Hmm.
um, or starting a good, amazing life. But I mean, that just seems like it seems so far removed from where
Yeah.
you are in those moments. And I mean, trying to explain where a person is when things are that dark in your own head is kind of hard to explain unless you've been there. But reasoning is not really always a great part of that.
Mm-mm.
It's just a brutal place to be. And Jehovah's Witnesses create a lot of that. So again, another sign that this is not a good place,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, if you're again, where's the cheering going to be for your brother if he had gone to university? I mean, he sounds like a person with a mind like a steel trap,
Yeah.
and there's just so much talent and ability that comes through. The 8.5, 9 million, whatever Jehovah's Witnesses that never sees the light of day.
I mean, it's talent wasted. It's,
It
it's
is.
the truth of it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not used to its full potential. I'm
Correct.
sure it can be used in some ways,
Yeah.
but it's a shame that so many of us never get. I meet so many people in my coaching practice who amazing musicians, super smart, intelligent,
Hmm.
articulate people, and they've just not been able to put those skills to the use that they could have if properly supported.
Yeah. No, I agree. It almost like dehumanizes you
It
because
does.
it takes away, not only do you have to adhere to all these rules that really most of them have no meaning or sense behind it, but also they take away, everything that uh as far as enjoyment goes, like, oh, you like to sing, like, well, tough luck, you can't be a musician because that is a worldly career, you know or if you get a scholarship, like you were taught, there was literal videos of these actings of like these people that got offered scholarships and they're like, no, sorry, I'm not going to take it, because I'm going to be a regular pioneer. Like,
Yep, I
come,
did that.
you, listen, same here. So it's like, God, like, it sucks, but
Yeah.
they really do. They have a way, and I think as I guess as time progresses and technology progresses, like, you have the cartoons now for kids, like I think it's Sophia and Caleb or something, I can't
Yep.
remember now. They have that, and then they have like the JW broadcast scenes that they do now, and it's just crazy to me because it is getting integrated into every waking second of your life is revolving around all of this nonsense, and even to the point of like babies and children, which I feel, and I tread lightly here because again, they're children, but I feel bad for them because
Sure.
I've lived it. So it's kind of like, and not that
Yeah.
I wish that, but it's just like, I know what's about to happen. I know the path that they will take, and it's sad. To me, it's really sad.
Well, it's utterly heartbreaking to see um, we were at a friend's house one day, and some witnesses came up and knocked on the door, and there was a person there with a little girl, and I mean, I felt for the adult too. It's not
Hmm.
fun to be there, but that little girl, like, it's heartbreaking to think.
Yeah.
I know what people go through. I talk to people every day who are going through it as adults, and it's really, really difficult. It's a hard life to live. It's a hard thing to get out of. But if in life it is choose your hard.
Hmm.
And at a point you can choose a better one. And
Yeah. That
you
is an
know,
option.
yeah, life is gonna bring you things that are not, the waiting for the other shoe to drop. There are going to be shoes that will drop in life. That's just a part of life, though.
Yeah.
Nobody gets out of here alive and nobody
Hmm.
gets out unscathed. That's life. But there's still so much beauty and so many amazing things to experience in this life aside from that unfortunately the witnesses aren't really, they're kind of escaping from the wrong parts of life,
Yeah.
the
I agree
happy
100%.
ones.
Yeah.
Um, so your brother ends up getting disfellowshipped and he's kicked out and cut off. So where do you go? When do you get baptized? Where were you in there?
I think soon after all that happened,
Mm.
I think my parents started to hyperfixate on me and my younger brother, as
Oh,
in,
replacements.
yes, as in like, okay, we
It's a
lost
real
one,
thing.
which 100%, and it was kind of like, okay, we lost one, but at least we
Mhm.
have two. We got to
Yeah.
hold these two real tight. And again, I'm being told that you need to constantly pray for your brother, for him to come back. You need to, be extra strong because there's going to be weak times that you're going to want to reach out and you can't. You need to do your Bible study. So I, I, I think it was kind of stepped up a notch as far as,
Well, I bet.
how it was and how it was going to be. Um, and part of me did believe it at that time, right? I said,
Sure.
or I used to tell myself, like, well, maybe if I could do better, that will set an example for him and he'll want to come back, you know?
Of course.
So I did everything by the book. I'm talking about like P's and Q's, like just everything was exactly by the book. My Bible study, preaching, pioneer school. I mean, you name it. And I was like, if I do it, he will come back. Newsflash, it did not work. And if anything, the deeper and deeper I fell into it, and even my baptism and everything, the more and more sad I felt, or empty. Maybe not sad. I think I felt empty. Um, I just felt like my life had no meaningful direction or purpose. And I think that as, once those feelings started to kind of come up, it was always just, well, you need to pray harder. You need to study more. You need to keep your mind busy with Jehovah's things, and that way you'll be fine. But the older and older I got, the more and more empty I felt. Not to mention that I think my parents kind of became extra. Uh, what's the word I'm trying to find here? I guess they became extra worry with the idea of losing me, that it became overbearing.
Oh, I'm sure there was a lot of control exerted.
Where it was
Yeah.
like, who are you with? How long are you going to be there? Even with school. I remember I used to leave school and it was immediate. I'm talking about like if I left school at 3, my dad was there at 2:50 to pick me up because like it was a straight line. Doors, car, go home. Like I was not allowed to talk to anybody. Um, it was a very it was a very dark time, I want to say, because it was just so exhausting, but not rewarding. And I was going through high school and I was getting presented with these great opportunities to go study, and I was having to turn them down, and it came with the why would you turn them down? Which is a great question. Why would I? And then it was like, oh, well, because I'm a Jehovah's Witness, which again, they would bring up great points that I really couldn't rebuttal with anything, that was like good enough to suffice their questions. And it got me wondering too, but it was a very dark time where I felt that my only way was to essentially leave my house, or leave my parents, eyes. And again, at least down by where I lived, which was South Florida, you don't move out and live by yourself. That is a big no-no. Like, you stay in your house until you get married, and that is it. Like, there is no other way around that.
Is that for males and female? Is that for men and women?
I think both.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I think the male aspect, I think, was kind of a little bit of more of a blind eye that they would turn. But as a female,
yeah,
you moving out of your parents' house unwed, was it's because you wanted to just go out there and be a Scarlet, pretty much. It was,
right, Jezebel.
Yeah.
I was wondering, because as you're talking about the excess control that was exerted over you, I was wondering, is it part, hey, your brother left, and again, and witnesses do literally find replacements for you when you leave a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. But also, you're a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the way they see young girls and women, young ladies, is very, that they don't trust young guys, but they really don't trust young ladies.
They think you are up to no good. When I'm talking about, like, even if you were going to go out with another girlfriend, like something as simple as to the movies, our dads would be outside waiting. Like, they would drop us off, sit in the car, wait for us to finish our movie, and then pick us up. Now, granted, sometimes I feel like maybe there's a little bit of a cultural aspect, because at least in South Florida, like, majority of people are Hispanic. And our congregation, I actually think in our congregation, everybody was Hispanic, if I'm being completely honest. So I think there was like a little bit of everything combined together with, I guess, like, old-fashioned typical things, but also what the organization was saying. But it's like what you said, like, being a female, everything was psychoanalyzed. I even remember, it's funny because I just remembered this. I was scolded because we were preaching and I had sandals, but not like beach flip-flops. I'm talking about, like, nice, cute sandals that you would get at the store. And they said because I was showing toes that, that might be provocative to somebody that might have, that kind of desire. And I'm just like, okay, so what do you want me to do? And so they made an announcement that all the girls had to wear closed-toe shoes. And we had to wear closed-toes shoes for summer, you name it. It was, yeah.
You have to wear them at the beach?
So
what the heck? So we've got a brother here with a foot fetish.
That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was.
And because of that,
we all had to wear clothes.
Made that none of this, holy crap. Wow.
Yeah. We all had to wear closed shoes. And then, funny when you say at the beach, I think the norm was like modest swimsuits, which we did use. That was like the thing, right? The modest swimsuits, which whatever, that's fine. But then it became where we had to wear jean shorts, like full blown shorts and t-shirts. Like,
in the water?
Yes. No. Like in the water. Like
it's
pool
like
parties.
You're baptized.
Yes.
you gotta wear extra
it's like a wet t-shirt contest.
What the heck?
Yeah. It was just
jean shorts. What are wet jean shorts?
Oh, it was not fun.
That sounds horrible.
It was not fun. And then my mom loves to say, like, oh, you don't like going to the beach? No, not as a child. That was terrible. It really was terrible.
Wow.
But there was a lot of control and suffocation is the best way to put it. I felt suffocated. I couldn't do anything except school, home, work, home, preach, and home. And that's it. And if I wanted to do anything, a chaperone had to be there, an adult had to be there. God forbid if there was a male, in the group, even if there was like 20 women, but if there was one singular male, oh, that's it. There was a problem there. So it kind of, and a lot of the girls actually kind of felt the same way, where we felt like, I don't want to say we felt forced to have to get married, but in a sense, we kind of did. We felt like the quicker we get married, the quicker we could get out of the house, the quicker we could live our life. That's kind
a
of
very real thing. Yes.
That's kind of the mentality. And at that time, I want to say my ex-husband, I met him when I was 17, 18. I can't remember now. I know it was around that age. He was by the books, everything that they would have wanted. He was a regular pioneer. He was a I don't even remember. Minstrel. There you go. He was that, or at least becoming that. He, very well spoken, very well mannered. I mean, everybody would say, like, you hit jackpot. Like, oh my God, like, girl, you go. Like, that is the JW dream man. And I have nothing bad to say about him. Even now, like, we're very amicable in a sense, but we're both two kids kind of trying to escape, our lives a little bit.
You don't even know who you are.
No,
your identity
not
is just
at
being
all.
a witness. So all witness marriages are set up to fail because of what they tell you to care about when you get
100%.
married.
100%.
It's not about how do you two relate to each other. It's what are your spiritual qualifications? Like that's going to be your everyday.
Right. It makes no sense. But he had a similar situation. His older brother was also disfellowshipped. So we kind of bonded over that. A little bit of like a trauma bond, I guess you could say. And, we were great friends. I won't, take that away from him. We had a lot in common. And so we end up getting married, which is funny because we end up dating for a year, which already everybody was kind of elder-wise. They were like, you need to get married soon because temptation, like a year, you guys have been dating for a year and you're not married. So I don't know if he felt pressured or not, but he ends up proposing. We're 19. Like, what does a 19-year-old, know at that age? And we're planning our wedding, and all I remember is just the elders breathing down our necks of, you guys got to get married. You guys got to get married. Like, temptation. And I'm just like, can you guys relax? Like, back off. It was the best way to put it. And I think during that time is when I started to catch an attitude, as my mom would like to say, where I think I was kind of becoming an adult, and I was starting to gain a voice of boundaries or what I didn't like. And
that things you're supposed to have.
Exactly. And I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because I wasn't conforming to what they wanted me to conform to.
You weren't being controlled.
Exactly. And so we got married, and then everything is kind of good. I would say probably the first year. And my ex-husband kind of starts to get more privileges and more privileges and more privileges. And I end up getting more and more and more further away, I guess you could say, or more awakened as far as things that didn't sit well with me, or I something as simple as, for example, they would call him out, which would then make him call me out, that I wouldn't comment every meeting. Sometimes
get your wife under control.
It literally was that.
To be a good example. My dad was an elder, and I had heard some of the conversations that were had.
That would just piss me off because it would just be like, who the hell are you to tell me? Or sometimes, like, I would tell my ex-husband, I'd be like, I just got my period. I'm not feeling good. I don't feel like commenting today. There is nothing wrong with that. Well, I had to comment. And if it wasn't a comment, then I had to read a verse because it was contributing somehow, the persona.
It's about appearances. Yeah.
Correct. It's all about appearances. And then I did this very scandalous thing, which was I dyed my hair this burgundy, red, purple color. And since it wasn't a normal color, like blonde or brown, it was very scandalous. And then the elders had another talk with him and were like, same thing, you got to get your wife under control. Like, she's looking a little wild with that, burgundy hair.
Mr. Genesis here is starting to show, she's starting to display an independent spirit.
And that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah.
And I would go out with my friends and, social media started to become a thing. So I would post like, we would go out to a restaurant or we would go out to, I'm talking about mundane things like the museum, like holy as could be. And it was just like, oh, we think you guys are, well, I forgot the words that they used, but they essentially said that we were entertaining the worldly activities a little too much. And I'm like, what do you want me to do then? Like, what do you want from me? And I think that's when me and my ex-husband kind of started to butt heads a lot because he wanted me to be this almost like an elder wife, I guess is the best way to put it, which they would dress and I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that I was immodest, but I'm not going to wear a suit, a blazer, and a long skirt up to the floor.
They wanted you to dress frumpy.
Yes, they want you to dress frumpy. They want you to look not the most attractive. And it's just like, that just wasn't me. Like, so it just became this constant butting heads of, you need to be this. I didn't want to be that. And, the elders kind of getting involved and, giving me advice on how I could be better. And all this to say, he ends up cheating. The perfect, the righteous one. He ends up having an affair with an 18-year-old out of all things, which was rather, yeah, I was like, very odd age, but okay. And I think when that happened, I think I was in such a mindset of him being like the holy, because there were times where I thought maybe I am the problem, like, am I the problem? Am I not, being the holy or righteous one? And therefore that's why all these problems, all these frictions between us are happening. And little did I know, he had a whole other life that he was living and entertaining. And meanwhile, coming home and saying, you're being a bad wife because you're not conforming to the Bible. Yet he's doing the polar opposite behind closed doors, which is the irony.
Did you get blamed for his behavior?
Not directly,
Okay.
but yes, actually. And I was kind of, the whole forgive and forget was very drilled down. I am not one that can forgive and forget. Never. I never have.
Good. Good, because if you forgive and forget the way they teach, you just keep going back to abuse because it's
100%.
Well, they abused me, but I forgave them and forgot, so I'll keep going back to them.
100%. And I think it helped. Yeah, literally. And I think it helped that I think we both were kind of at the end of things. And he obviously years later admits that he handled it incorrectly, but could we both have said, listen, like we've reached our max here. We've done everything we could. This isn't going to work out. Let's just break up. Yes. To him, the easier or the, cheap way to do it was just to have an affair. And then which that to me is an excuse, but you know what? We were young. I think this was maybe mid to early 20s still. So, you're dumb at that age. You don't know any better. Not to justify what he did, obviously, but
right. But it is put out. I mean, it is a lot of people, even extra as witnesses, end up doing that to get away from relationships and such. It's just this, like, I don't know how to do this with my words, so I will do this another way.
With my actions, yeah.
Because I don't know how to speak up or to advocate.
100%. And I think it also while this was all going on, he did develop feelings for that other girl, and he thought, which she was not a Jehovah's Witness. I can't remember how they met. I think it was at work or through a work function. Um, but all this to say is the elders kind of pushed hard for us to stay together. And it's funny because before they even asked him anything, they were already drilling me with forgive and forget. You know, not that they said that's what, typical men behavior, but essentially without saying those exact words, they kind of put it into, those exact words.
Boys will be boys.
Exactly. And like, it happens and it's more common. They also said like it's more common than you think. There's so many brothers that we've had to like lecture on, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I don't even know if they were supposed to be telling me this, but
well, there's some truth probably to that.
I mean, there really is.
Yeah.
But to me, it's it was, the more they talked, the more angry I was getting. And then at some point, I remember interrupting the elders and saying, well, have you even asked him how he feels? Because this was both of us being interviewed or interrogated, however you want to call it, with the elders. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good question. How do you feel? And my ex-husband was like, yeah, I don't want to work this out. And I think that took him for like a doozy of like, oh, she's not the problem, it's him, And
I
I think
just expected it to be you.
Oh, 100%. I am telling you, when I walked in there, it was their eyes were just set on me, and I was the problem, and I caused this. And so when he said that, I said, yeah, there's nothing to resolve here. Like we want a divorce. I want nothing to do with him. He wants nothing to do with me, and that's it. It was honestly, it was probably like the easiest divorce ever. And it was such a shift in energy as far as what they talked about on stage, of offering support and, being there for people when they're at their lowest. But when the affair happened, I remember thinking, when he left, like, oh, I'm free. Like, I live by myself. I could do whatever I want. And then I was like, oh, but no, I should probably go to meeting. And I went to one meeting. And I remember I walked in, and it was like I was reliving what happened with my older brother. Everybody wanted to know what happened. Everybody wanted to know the details. And nobody was really asking me, do you need anything? I went from a dual income to one income, and I'm living on my own. Nobody asked me if I
And you
needed
were cheated
anything.
on, emotionally and mentally. Like, are you
100%.
okay?
And I
Yeah.
was grieving because I did care for him. I
Of
was
course.
grieving that loss. But nobody asked me how I felt. Nobody asked me if I needed anything. Nobody offered to just, take me out and, hey, let's just go grab lunch or something.
No, they wanted social currency.
Oh, 100%. And the few advices that I got was from older women, and they had all been cheated on, stayed with their partner. And they pretty much were trying to convince me as far as, oh, it's not as bad as it seems. Like, you kind of go through stages, but then afterwards you kind of just forget about it. And I remember getting in my car and just saying, fuck this. Like, that was like my absolute, like, this is a joke. This is an absolute complete joke. And obviously during that time was COVID, so it was perfect timing because I didn't have to worry about, where is she? Does she show up? Why isn't she in
Who
meeting?
provides a way out?
Oh, 100%. I will give him that. But the irony is, when all of that happened, that was my last meeting. I think in total that was like 2020, I want to say 2021. We're in 2026. I think I've received a total of 2 texts ever in the span of all those years. One was funny enough. I think it might have been by mistake. I think they were asking for my field service hours or something. And I'm like,
I was
I'm
gonna
like,
say, yeah, they're not reaching out to see, Genesis, are you
no,
okay? We haven't seen you in a long time.
which I didn't even reply. And then the other one was this older lady, which I had bonded with her and bless her, because I do
Sure.
think that she had a good heart. I still do think she has a good heart. And she just texted me and said, hey, I hope everything's going well for you. And I also chose not to reply. But that was it. And, what all these years I thought was so scary, like, oh, leaving is going to be so scary. Like, I'm going to disappoint so many people. I'm going to have to deal with all these, people coming to me like, no, 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 stay. And it was quite the opposite. Like, when I left, it was like, the weight was just lifted off my shoulders. I have never felt so relieved. Um, it it was like, I guess depends on where you live, but it's kind of like when they call and they're like, "Hey, school's out for the day because of weather," and you're like, "Yes."
Yeah.
That was like the feeling. I was like, I am
And you had a big
free.
test that day.
Yeah. Um, it just felt so good. It felt so good. And I remember saying, even if I am wrong and I'm choosing the wrong path, I just need to enjoy this for a moment, which it was not a moment. It was for a lifetime.
Well, that's good. So when you stopped going and you walked away, the congregation seems to have just, well, done what they often do and just whatever.
They just turned their
Um,
back.
what about your family? Did they uh, express concern? I mean, because there had been this level earlier of
Hmm.
um, suffocating, you said.
Yeah.
So did that, how did they just accept that you were walking away?
Um, so I think that was the only band-aid I was not ready to rip off for some
Mm.
time. So we were in different congregations in different counties. So it was easy for them not to kind of keep tabs on.
Yeah, they don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. So whenever my mom would call, I would just kind of play it off like, oh yeah, hall was great. Or like, yep, great meeting. And that was just the end of it. Um, she didn't really, I know she tried hard for me to move back with them. That was like, she's like, you need to come back and live here. Like, what are you going to do by yourself? I'm like, what am I not going to do by myself? Like, freedom,
Once again, right? It's
you
like
know?
trying to pull you back down
But
with them. Yeah.
100%. And, I had bought a house and, to them, it was like, no, 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 like sell it, move back. We'll take care of you. We'll, my congregation will be there for you, and it was just like, I kind of don't want that. Um, so it was easy for me to kind of get away with that. My mom has always had this habit of kind of turning a blind eye at times towards people and also us. I feel like she might have suspected that I wasn't, going to meetings and all that good stuff. Um, but I don't think she ever addressed it with me. Uh, and then I met my now husband, and uh, in the beginning, I was like, I'm not going to say anything because it's just like how dating is. You just never know how it's going to turn out. But as things started to kind of progress more serious and it got to the point of, okay, well, it's time to meet parents, I was like, oh boy, do I have a story for you. And he kind of knew a little bit. I don't think
Yeah.
he, knew everything. And it took him a little bit to kind of comprehend everything and
Of
understand
course.
the dynamics of I'm close with my family, but not really. Um, so once that, you know, part of our relationship was happening, I called my mom and I kind of told her, I said, I have some good news or bad news, depends on how you want to take it. I was like, the good news is I met somebody. And I told her everything. I said how he made me feel, how happy I was, how we're compatible and all this stuff. And my mom was like, okay, well, what congregation does he go to? I'm like, about that. He doesn't go to any. So when I told her that he was this worldly man, before I could even say anything else, her exact words were, "You're going to get into drugs. You're going to get into alcohol. You are going to spiral. He is going to
Is she marrying a
drain
worldly
you."
man?
Which is the irony out of everything. And like she's just going on and on about how like my life is just going to be so miserable with this man. And I'm like, all I could say is, I'm like, Mom, you haven't even met him. And I'm like, if you only knew, like, bless my husband, I love him to death, but this man doesn't drink. This man doesn't smoke. Like, he is the most goody two shoes. Like, I joke with him sometimes. I'm like, you're a better Jehovah's Witness than I ever was. But I told her, I said, your idea of a worldly man is so like, I mean, are there men out there? Sure, I'm sure there is, but it is so unrealistic for you to categorize every worldly man to be, this chaos. And she cut me out. She's like, I want nothing to do with you. That lasted maybe like 6 months. I said, tough luck. I think she thought by doing that I was gonna, because I am very empathetic, a little too much, I think sometimes. And I think that,
again, we were taught to be people pleasers.
Correct. And I think she thought doing that would make me be like, I'm just kidding, Mom. I'm so sorry. Which was not the case. I ended up moving in with him.
Good for you.
We had a great, I mean, I cannot say, I rave about him all the time, but it got to the point where, again, because he was in the military, we were going to have to move from South Florida to Texas. So I told them, I said, so I'm moving. You have 2 options. You could either say goodbye to me and meet him, or just live with your choice. And they were like, nope, we don't want to meet him. We don't care. And I was like, okay, I respect that. A week before we left, all of a sudden they want to meet him, and say goodbye. And I was like, okay. So we went over for family dinner. And it was so funny because my husband is very heavily tattooed. Like I'm talking about like neck to his feet, just covered in tattoos. So he showed up to like this was like dead of summer. He shows up with like a turtleneck, long sleeve, everything. My mom was like, oh, that's an odd choice of fashion. I'm like, if you only knew. So that was pretty funny, but they got along with him. And I think they realized like, wow, he's actually a normal, good guy.
Other than wearing a turtleneck in the middle of summer.
I mean, that was a little odd. And I told him, I was like, listen, just be yourself. Like, who cares?
Well, but isn't that interesting? And even the way they are pushes even people who have never been one of them to change their behavior to try to get approval from these folks.
I mean, he was scared shitless.
Yeah.
Pretty much meeting them. And which, I mean, roles reverse, I probably would have done the same, but it is sad because I told him in layman words, I'm like, listen, you're never going to get a full approval from them. And that's totally fine. It's nothing personal. It's nothing to do with you as a human or as a character. I'm like, it's just the way that we were raised or taught or manipulated or however you want to call it, But yeah, and our life has been great. It's just kind of sad to me because now I kind of see, everyone in our family has left. My mom and my dad are pretty much the only ones still, I guess, in the or participating, I guess you could say.
Sure.
My dad's kind of like a hot and cold. But it is sad because it's isolating to her because we're all hanging out. We're all making plans.
She can change that.
Oh, 100%. But to her, it's life or death. Like even during Memorial, she called me and she was like borderline crying. And she's like, I need you to go back to meetings. Like, I like, you don't understand how close, like have you not seen everything going on with war? Like the end is so near. And I'm like, Mom, do you know how many wars have happened in like,
right.
Like there's nothing new.
In my lifetime, there's been a lot in the Middle East.
I'm like 9/11 alone. I was like that was a huge,
yeah.
I was like, but again, it's every time something systematically is happening, like the war now, it's the, oh, peace and security, the end of the world is coming. Do you not see how bad things are? And then it's going to get better, or it's going to go back to the typical normal spiel. And then what? They got to come up
See
with,
how childish they really are when you get away from it.
yeah.
They believe in these dystopian fairy tales, and they can't see past it. It is, I don't know if you've ever seen, I don't know, it's an old clip or something. It's a guy at some sort of wrestling event, and he's up in the bleachers, and he's talking to one of the wrestlers down below, and he says, what you guys do to your bodies and all this stuff, and people, make fun of you and stuff, but it's still real to me, damn it. And he's like breaks
Oh
out into
yeah.
tears. I mean, that's
But
how
it's
Jehovah's
true.
Witnesses are, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's still real to me, damn it, even though we've been through war after war.
Yep.
I mean, y'all are the wolves crying peace and security yourself a million times, and yet instant destruction has not been upon us. Like,
No.
this is at a point, like, you give it up. You got to stop.
Yeah.
But they can't. They just can't. They're
Yeah.
invested in this thing. They want it to be true, even though it means the death of 8 billion people around them,
I mean, yeah.
even their own kids. But they're still holding on to this thing, and it's just really sad. Like that false hope means that much to you. This is where you need some real therapy and
Yeah.
such, right? But they just escape into this thing.
It's to the
Sad.
point, it is sad, and it's to the point where every time I talk with my mom, everything is just fear and end of the world and so negative, and just, it's such a gloomy, as horrible as it sounds, but I almost dread whenever she calls me or I call her, because it's just, I do it for myself, because at the end of the day, that is my mom. And it is what it is. Those are the cards I've been dealt with. And I don't ever want it to come back where I wasn't trying to, have a relationship with her. If she chooses,
that's it. Who would you care that thought that, right? Like,
I guess I say
at
it
the end
more
of
for
the
like
day, you
myself,
have to know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an internal thing. And I mean, she is your mom. At the same time, you don't have to light yourself on fire to keep others warm.
Oh,
So it's finding
100%.
that balance of what you want to
Yeah.
do and how you can see her and do so in a way that you can be okay with.
Yeah. And I think it's gotten to the
Or
point, yeah, where I think she kind of respects my life. I also think my husband, he tends to have, not like in a bad way, but he has a very like strong character, like he means what he means. So I think she kind of knows better than to stir the pot, because she knows that my husband will probably not tell her off, but he's not one to keep his mouth shut, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
So to kind of keep the peace, I think she's learned to just keep her mouth shut if she's around, which love
Well,
that.
that's what you should,
And it's how it should be.
You should do that.
That is how it should be.
Right? Because honestly, if she speaks and into a place where it's not hers and she crosses boundaries, she deserves to get slapped
100%.
down.
100%.
Not your place.
And she, I think she is aware of that.
Yeah.
So throughout the years, I think she's been more mindful of what she says. Now, granted, whenever she speaks to me, one-on-one, the tone's a little bit different. But again, it doesn't affect me. But whenever I do try to talk with her and reason with, like, hey, have you ever thought about, like, for example, the whole blood transfusion thing that just changed? Like, what is the iron? I'm talking about, like, the core. I explained this to my husband. My husband's like, what? This is like the core fundament of like JW 101 rule number 1, no blood transfusion. Like, no, I'm like, I remember one time I went to a restaurant and there was a blood sausage, which we didn't know. And oh my God, it was like a lecture about how like blood cannot even touch us from like another anything. And then ironically, my grandmother passes away from leukemia, which is blood related. Not saying that she could have, they caught it pretty later on. Not saying she was going to live if she had
Well, and
blood
especially
transfusion.
not under their new rules, because you still can't take blood from another person.
Of
It
course.
would just be if you could store it around.
Correct.
And hers was, unfortunately, not healthy.
Exactly. So the fact that she was kind of, on her deathbed, she was given absolutely like no option because of how strict, everything was. Because the truth is, if this rule existed back then, maybe she would have been somebody that would have stored their blood, which I just think it's the silliest thing ever. But all this to say is,
be healthy enough to do so.
Yeah. All that to say is the irony of all of a sudden them saying, oh, we just had like a vision. We had a new understanding. Now we could take blood transfusion as long as it's ours. But again, it's like, how did you come about? Like what? You just woke up one day and said, you know what?
They prayed and decided.
Which, let's be honest, that's just bullshit. Like that is just complete bullshit. So it's just like, what, it for me, as of lately, I feel like more and more people are leaving. So they're grasping at straws. They're like, you guys want beards? Okay, you guys can have beards. Like blood transfusions? Well, we can't really change it, but we'll kind of tweak it, just like the holidays where it's like, oh, it's not Christmas, it's end of the year celebration or whatever.
Oh, you mean how families do that sometimes?
Yeah. And you're just
or
like,
there Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving,
correct.
the day after Thanksgiving.
And you're like, it's all the same thing. Like, let's just be honest, let's just be for real for a second.
Their God is really dumb. And he's easily fooled. And they can play games and he won't notice, Genesis.
It's silly to me. It is so silly to me. But I bring this up to her with the hope that it clicks for her. And again, it's just justification to her. It's, well, it's so nice that, the governing body's not afraid to admit that there's new understandings or that they were wrong. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, you're missing the point here.
I was going to say, so I was curious as to her exact wording, and I'm not just trying to be pedantic. But what I'm hearing a lot is that Jehovah's Witnesses are saying, well, we always kind of believe that way. It's just a clarification. And it's because that's exactly how they worded it. Jehovah's Witnesses are just repeating what they were told to think about it because they never said that they were wrong. They never apologized for anything. And they tried to make it sound like a clarification.
Like they are adapting.
It's just, hey, there's more and more things we can do with our own blood. All the way back to an article in like 2000.
Yeah.
They're just, and it was so Weasley, they never even used the word transfusion. They just tried to slip it in there at the very end of this other thing, right before the special talk and the memorial. And they can't even own it. So Jehovah's Witnesses aren't going to own it.
No, of course not.
The governing body didn't. They're such little weasels. They're so weak and cowardly.
The wording, I think, is key, and you're right, because what she said was essentially like how encouraging and how uplifting it is to know that the governing body isn't afraid to adapt to changing times and new revelations.
Brave, Genesis.
And I'm just like, oh my God, like this is just, it's hard for me to sympathize because it just does not make any sense. Just like, I don't know if, and I don't know when you left, but there was a whole thing about doomsday prepping that they talked about where they said
getting your go bags together.
Yes, the go bags. Oh my gosh.
Go bag.
The go bags. I was like, Jesus Christ, like it just doesn't make any sense. And it's funny because I was telling the go bag thing to my husband. My husband's like, how much can you pack in a bag to survive like an Armageddon, Like that's going to last you like 2 days. And then,
oh, come on. And most of these people have the survival skills of like
a rock.
Doesn't survive well.
but it's the fear. And then it's the whole, the pictures of, people hiding in the basements, and the military storming the house. And it's like, again, it's fear. It's constant fear of the, oh my gosh, the what ifs, like when it will happen, if it happens. It's such a sad, exhausting way.
It is, and the
to
go
live.
bag makes it real. It's tangible.
It
Just
is.
having the fear in my head's one thing, but having a backpack sitting near the
The
door
door.
has a bunch of stuff in it that I don't know how to use is
Yep.
going to be a reminder constantly that any day now we're
You're
going to
gonna
have
need
to
that
run
bag.
into the woods. And they can't find people. Did you know, Genesis, that military forces and stuff, if you run into the woods, they can't see you. They can't.
No, you're hidden. You're hidden
They're
from them. It's
completely
like blind.
hidden. No, Holy Spirit will jam all of their They could never see you in the woods.
Oh gosh,
No one
but
has ever been caught in the woods.
no, never. It just, it is comical. It is comical, and I can laugh about it now because,
Sure,
I mean,
ridiculous.
what else can you do about it? You got to laugh through the pain, I guess you could say.
Of course.
But, yeah, I'm glad I left when I left. I'm glad that I was able to kind of restart. I'm happy for once, which is very odd to say, I guess. Like, from it, when you talk to people that weren't raised in a cult, I guess you could say they're like, what? But
Yeah.
I truly do feel peace for the first time in a very long time since I left. And I wouldn't trade that for anything at all, no matter what, at this point.
No, you got to protect your peace.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is there, so today your other two brothers are out, so you have contact with them, you have a relationship with them?
Yes. So my older brother, he is like best friends with my husband. I love his wife.
Cool.
Fantastic relationship there. My younger brother, I think he has always been mentally checked out. He lived with my parents. He's kind of in the process of like cutting that tie out now. So he is kind of going through his own, path now. But he says it just, nothing makes sense. This has divided our whole family. Mom and dad are always miserable. Everyone in the congregation, all they do is talk crap about each other, and it's just like this tit for tat, and holding it's a persona. It's the appearance of
Middle
what
school.
it really is. My grandparents have passed since then, but my aunts, my cousins, everyone's out. My uncles. I mean, realistically, it's literally just my mom, and my dad would pretty much just do whatever.
He agreed to that from day one.
Exactly. Pretty much.
Okay, came by that honestly.
Yeah.
Well, so what do you love about your life today? I mean, you said, your peace or whatever. That's something you love. What's good in Genesis's world today? If you'd like some extra content, if you'd like to learn more about our guests today, maybe even have an opportunity to connect further with them, you can do so by joining the Back Room tier at patreon.com/shunned.
Man, and I hate saying it sometimes because I'm like, oh, I don't want to sound cocky or like braggy, but truth
It's
be
sad
said,
that we should ever feel cocky
right?
about being happy.
But the truth is, it's just everything. Like for the first time, I have a great, healthy relationship, as far as a partner goes.
Sure.
And it's not just you're a woman, so you need to obey the man. It's, he does his husband duties, I do my wife duties, and I am happy and he's happy. We travel the world. He has a great job. I have within reason, I have a good job. I have great friendships that I have built. We bought a home. We are currently making it, cozy and to our liking. We have two great cats. His family is fantastic. His family has pretty much stepped in as, my mom and dad, and I love them. I shouldn't say this, but I probably love them a little more than my own parents. But they're
I think that's
fantastic.
fair. They're able
Yeah.
to love.
Oh, 100%. And I
Your
think,
parents aren't really able to love. They can only somewhat borderline accept people who are
yeah,
just like them. That's not love.
no. And I think it helps also that my husband's mom, my mother-in-law, she had a similar situation because her biological father was a Jehovah's Witness.
Uh,
So because of that, I think she understands the dynamics and the awkwardness of, what it's like, even though she wasn't raised in it. But I think she sympathizes. And because of that, like, we have been able to build this great relationship of, like, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. But it's healed things in me where I didn't know I needed healing. And my relationships with my siblings are fantastic, and with the rest of my family, like, everything is good. Everything is peaceful for me. I wake up and I'm happy. I go to sleep and I'm happy. Our conversations are positive. Like, it's just everything. As silly as it sounds, but it is everything. I wake up and I just think about the most mundane fun things. I'm not worried about, oh, I have to wake up early and go preach and I'm so tired. Or did I practice a response for the watchtower? Oh, I got to deal with this afterwards. Like, it's none of that. It is, I am truly living for me, myself, and I. And as, some people may say that it's selfish, but it's not. It is so nice to be selfish and put yourself first.
yeah, it's called self-care.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting when we say good things, we've been taught to qualify them. We have to say,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's good, but also it's kind of bad, and also it's
Yeah.
not perfect. But coming from Jehovah's Witnesses, when things are negative or bad, you never have to qualify those with a positive thing, do
Yeah.
you? It's just,
That is
it's
so
so
true.
ridiculous and absurd, but it's just the way we're made to feel bad for being happy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. I'm so glad that you get to be happy. I think that's what we're all looking for after, life after Jehovah's Witnesses, is everybody's trying to figure out who they are and what they
Mm-hmm.
want out of life, and to settle into that. And of course it doesn't mean life's perfect.
No, not at
People get
all.
sick and cars break down
Oh,
and
yeah.
whatever, but like, it is just so nice to be able to wake up every day and have autonomy and the freedom to
Mm-hmm.
decide what it is you want to do today. And I'm glad that you get to have that. And apparently you have a cat as well, right? And
Yes. Fortunately and unfortunately, because sometimes, he's probably the most stressful thing in my life right now.
a happy but verbal cat,
Yes.
so, that we're keeping off the podcast.
Pretty
So,
much.
well, Genesis, I really appreciate you telling your story, and being vulnerable and open about everything that went on in your world. And certainly there's other people who will resonate with it. And again, no one is alone in any of this.
No. I agree. And I think if there's one thing that I could say is, I know it's scary, the idea of leaving,
Mhm.
but I promise you, there is a light at the end of that tunnel, and it is so rewarding, and it is so peaceful, and it is so worth it. So just do it. And I promise you will not look back. That's all I can say. You will not look back. You're going to think, why did I not do this sooner?
If you want to tell your story on the podcast, buy merch, or get more information, go to shunnedpodcast.com. My original podcast, This JW Life, is my story, which started all of this. You can listen to it today on podcast apps and find more at thisjwlife.com. Or if you're interested, you can read my book, Becoming Jehovah, online for free at becomingjehovah.com.